Hello there, welcome to Dan's Little Thing. I'm your host, Danielisweird, and today we're going to start off by talking about Australia, more specifically, the 2016 Australian census. Now, this piece of information may shock you.
The snapshot of the nation has revealed some pretty shocking intel. 1 in 4 men don't do any housework. 1 in 4. I reckon that's actually a pretty good stat.
You would.
1 in 4 don't? That means 3 out of 4 are.
Now, as interesting as that might be, my biggest takeaway from the census was that Australia is now a majority non-religious country. Now, what does that mean? Basically, whilst 50% of the country still believe in Christianity, the no-religious group is the largest group of people who don't think others in that group are going to hell. Because there is no hell. Now, why is this a great thing? Why is it great that we've had an openly atheist Australian Prime Minister, who is also a woman, by the way? Now, what it does is it keeps Australia secular. Now, in my opinion, there's no place for religion in politics. That's why we have the separation of church and state. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying politicians aren't allowed to be religious or even aren't allowed to pray. But when Parliament opens with prayer, forced upon all senators who may or may not be religious, praying for an Australian people that probably don't care about getting prayed for, then why do you need to do it? I'm not saying ban prayer from Parliament, but don't force it. And things like the historic sexual abuse charges against Cardinal George Pell, the highest ranking Australian Catholic, it's no wonder Australians don't find comfort in religion, because those who do get sexually abused. And I actually saw in a newspaper, Australians were banding together to create a legal fund for this guy, to defend him against these abuse allegations. And why? Why does this religion entrench in your mind that you need to protect those who've only ever served to create a disparity between you and them in both social status, wealth, and power? But enough religion, moving on to something similarly as shameful. An Australian advert was pulled from Facebook just recently for featuring a man holding his fat stomach. Now, the reason Facebook pulled the ad was because it was making viewers upset. And Facebook's advice, as per who they do allow and don't allow to advertise, was to go down to Macca's and have a happy meal and cheer yourself up. But in all honesty, I don't see why this company's advert is seen as harmful when places like KFC and McDonald's and Hungry Jack's can advertise, albeit in a friendly way, to millions of kids and young people who are at risk of obesity. Obesity is a huge problem these days, and I don't see anything wrong with trying to tackle it in a confronting way. Hell, cigarette smoking is not a big problem right now, but cigarettes still cost a shit ton, have horrible images on them. They're banned for kids under the age of 18. And so when you have obesity, which is a huge problem, why is it so readily accessible? Why is fast food incredibly cheap and incredibly advertised everywhere and not seen as something that can frankly be pretty detrimental to a family and especially a kid's life? Now, I'm not saying I'm against companies making profit, but apps like Uber Eats, you can tap your phone and each tap you get a little bit bigger. You can't just download the health app and be healthy. You have to go out and do stuff. So I think it's a lot harder to motivate people to be healthy because it's the easiest thing in the world to motivate people to eat. You just have to show them a picture of a hamburger and they want to. But speaking of large problems that hurt a country, Donald Trump has been in a lot of strife this week. He's not had a very good week. His son is tied up with a Russia scandal involving a meeting with a Russian lawyer. His campaign is still being investigated by Robert Mueller about collusion with Russia. And he had a 1-hour undisclosed meeting with the president of Russia at the G20. Now, I'm not saying there's any criminal wrongdoing. I don't actually believe that this whole Russia hype is really going to come up with anything that substantial. But when you are known for being in a scandal with Russia, why have an undisclosed meeting? Why would you meet with the president of Russia for an hour and not tell people? It just seems as though he's walking into scandal after scandal. And that's not even to mention how horrible the healthcare situation is. Because inside Trumpland, Republicans are having a noticeably difficult time with healthcare.
Obamacare repeal and replace is dead. New this afternoon, repeal and replace later is also dead. And Obamacare is the law of the land despite Republican promises to kill it. So what to do? The White House solution? Do not fix Obamacare, let it fail. President Trump is calling for exactly that. Allow the collapse of the health care program on which tens of millions of American men, women, and children depend for their medical coverage.
If you're displeased with something, but you don't have anything that you can replace it with. Then fix that thing. Don't throw it away. If I had an old car that ran alright but had some issues with the clutch, but I couldn't afford a new car, I could only afford this shitty pile of junk, I wouldn't throw away the car because I can't go and buy a Tesla. I would fix up that car, or at least just run with what I've got. Republicans' boner to kill Obamacare is really going to cost them a lot of votes and seats, I think, if you ask me, in the next election, because right now they just can't get anything done, at least not in a substantial and positive way. You may want to call Democrats obstructionists, and they are being quite obstructionist right now, but at least they got stuff done when they were in office. Now, wrapping up the show, I want to talk about something near and dear to my heart. Doctor Who. The new Doctor has just been announced, and it's a woman. Jodie Whittaker. Look at that. They really did go with the Broadchurch crying lady. But in all honesty, I'm totally up for this new change. I don't see anything wrong with going in that direction, and she's worked with the next showrunner before, so maybe they'll run a tight ship. I'm happy to see where this goes, but there's been two notable positions on this change. There's been the one side that thinks Doctor Who has gone too far politically correct, pandering to the feminists, and then there's the other side which think it's not going far enough, that think the next Doctor has to be a black, disabled, transgender, gay woman who's not a woman but non-binary. Both sides to me are ridiculous in this issue, for the main reason that we haven't seen anything about the new Doctor. We don't know if she's going to be good. We don't know if she's going to be bad. If she is good, that'll be great. If she's bad, then that'll suck. One thing I don't like is diversity for diversity's sake. No one cheers on a token black character, and last season with Bill, she was an okay character, but she couldn't go one episode without reminding the audience that she was black and gay. And a woman. Doctor, is this Mars? Oh, by the way, I'm a black lesbian. Now, my biggest hope is that they don't make this a big deal. They start the season, she's the new Doctor, and she does what the Doctor does. She saves humanity because humans are a piece of shit. That's all I want from next season. I don't want any more. I don't want any less. I think it's cool that she's a woman, but it would be just as cool if she was a man. I don't really mind. I just want the character of the Doctor to be intact, and that character is a cool, moral savior. But you may disagree with me, and if you do, that's okay. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Dan's Little Thing. I'm Danielisweird, and I'll see you next time.